Hello, all you freedom-loving people. The federal employee buyout was extended, but with all the funding that the media has been getting through USAID, can we really trust what they are saying about the buyout? Okay, let's get into it. Thursday was the deadline for millions of U.S. government employees to decide whether to resign or stay in their jobs. If they agree to the buyout, then they can receive a substantial financial incentive. But even if they decide to stay, they could still be fired. More than 40,000 federal workers have accepted the offer to resign so far, officials with the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, the OPM, said on Wednesday. According to President Trump's plan, this number falls far short of what he wants. A source in the OPM said that officials on Wednesday raised the layoff requirement from 30% to 70% of all employees. That's about 2 million more Americans who work in federal government civilian jobs, but some of those jobs are not covered by the buyout option. It's unclear how many people will ultimately accept the package. While a federal judge on Thursday extended the deadline for federal employees to accept the Trump administration's job buyout program until Monday. But after the judge issued his order, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the administration was grateful for the extension so more federal workers who refuse to show up to the office can take the administration up on this very generous, once-in-a-lifetime offer. Government employees who accept the buyout will be able to receive their normal wages without working until October. This is a wonderful thing. McLaureen Pinover, a spokeswoman for the OPM, said, "This is a rare, generous opportunity, one that was thoroughly vetted and intentionally designed to support employees through restructuring. But why haven't too many government employees taken the government up on the option? One reason is that the unions have warned that there's no guarantee that the president can or will stick with the proposal. And they say that the proposal lacks basic information, including whether employees might still be required to work for the government, whether they could find a private sector job while still being paid for the federal government, and how their pensions, health insurance, and other benefits and rights would be affected. For those who didn't accept the offer, their jobs could be at risk as the government pushes through its sweeping reforms." At Wednesday's OPM meeting, officials discussed having agencies submit lists of employees with less than 1 year of probation service or more than 2 years of accepted service. And this reform is extended to the FBI. The Department of Justice has now fired the prosecutor in charge of the January 6 incident, and he has asked the FBI to provide the names of as many as 6,000 agents involved in the case. And today, the FBI gave in and supplied the names of the agents, but Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove said, "Let me be clear, no FBI employee who simply followed orders and carried out their duties in an ethical manner with respect to January 6 investigations is at risk of termination or other penalties." Multiple media outlets reported that 2 unions that are representing employees of USAID have filed a lawsuit against President Trump and his administration over the White House's plan to drastically shrink USAID's staff. The lawsuit, filed by the labor groups in Washington, D.C., argues that the president does not have the authority to shut down the agency. But it's hard for much of the established media to be unbiased and neutral on this issue because they accept huge donations from USAID. Over the past few years, media outlets such as Politico, the Associated Press, and the New York Times have received millions of dollars in funding from the USAID. Reporters Without Borders, the RSF, revealed that USAID funded 6,200 journalists, 707 non-state media outlets, and 279 media-focused NGOs in more than 30 countries in 2023. The total amount of the funding is $268 million. The funds are earmarked to support independent media and the free flow of information. And RSF also highlighted that USAID is the primary donor for independent media in Ukraine, where 9 out of 10 outlets rely on international subsidies. But after receiving these subsidies, it's questionable how much independence these media and journalists retain. Of course, USAID isn't the only one that funds the media. Other government agencies also give money to the media. For example, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the HHS, is the largest donor to the New York Times, followed by the National Science Foundation, the NSF. I wonder, shouldn't HHS focus on health and wellness-related issues, and shouldn't NSF use its funds for scientific research? Why are these two organizations giving money to the media? Benny Johnson listed the tax dollars that are subsidizing mainstream outlets in America. In a post on X, it says, Politico, $34.3 million from various government agencies after laundering the Biden campaign laptop disinformation. New York Times, $50 million from various government sources, including a staggering $26.9 million from Health and Human Services. Associated Press, $19.5 million in government contracts and $619,968 in grants from the Department of State, with funding spikes in election years of 2020 and 2024. Reuters, $9 million from the Department of Defense for active social engineering, defense, and large-scale social deception, and $220,000 from the Department of State just last year. Even the BBC in the United Kingdom receives subsidies from the U.S. state government. It received $3.3 million from U.S. taxpayers and received an eye-popping $20 million from Bill Gates. President Trump commented on his Truth Social. He wrote, "Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff. This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history." Benny Johnson wrote, "This is why all media reporting sounds exactly the same. It's funded and directed by the state. Media outlet narratives are carefully orchestrated schemes to influence public opinion and political outcomes." Here's an example to support Benny Johnson's argument. Chris Wright, the new U.S. Secretary of Energy, has accused the media and politicians of never really understanding the theory of climate change.
Two ignorances about the importance of energy and about real facts about climate change are driving just a massively destructive movement, not just destructive to the economic well-being of humans, but I speak in schools, it's turning people away from science, and I mean science, this process of questioning and challenging, not the science, this sort of top-down, mandates that justify what people want to do anyway, that has nothing to do with climate change.
So what has been the real effect of the amounts spent globally on climate change over the years?
And how has it gone so far? So we're 20 years, $2 trillion of subsidies. In the year 2000, the world got 86% of its total primary energy from fossil fuels. So last year, in 2020, that 86% plunged all the way down to 84%. So calling this an energy transition, and everyone in my industry does that. The investment banks, the companies, you're supposed to write an ESG report apologizing that you're in our industry and how you're going to get out someday and your energy transition strategy. Well, the low-hanging fruit is the start. That's the electricity sector in rich countries. If 20 years and that much money drove us from 86 to 84, that's not an energy transition at all.
In fact, if we think about it calmly and rationally, we will realize human power is insignificant in the face of nature. The belief that man can defeat nature is part of the theory of communism, which came into being only after modern man stopped believing in God. President Trump said on Thursday that he will establish an Office of Faith in the White House. He signed an executive order directing the Justice Department to create a task force to protect Christians from religious discrimination. President Trump said the mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies. If we don't have religious liberty, we don't have a free country. We probably don't have a country. At the National Prayer Breakfast at the Capitol, President Trump mentioned that his experience with 2 assassination attempts last year has strengthened his faith in the power of God. He called on the American people to bring God back. President Trump said that he believes people can't be happy without religion, without that belief. Let's bring religion back. Let's bring God back into our lives. Kelly Shackelford, the head of First Liberty Institute, a conservative Christian legal organization, praised the creation of the Task Force and Religious Liberty Commission. He said in a statement, "All Americans should be free to exercise their faith without government intrusion in school, in the military, in the workplace, and in the public square. We are ready to stand with President Trump to ensure that the religious liberty of every American is safe and secure." President Trump also talked about the assassination attempt last year. He told legislators and attendees, "It changed something in me, I feel. I feel even stronger. I believed in God, but I feel much more strongly about it. Something happened." President Trump emphasized that religious freedom is part of the bedrock of American life, and he called on the public to protect it with absolute devotion. The Trump administration continues to monitor and cut any unnecessary budgets. On Tuesday, President Trump said that his administration would investigate the long-delayed California high-speed rail project. The project, which was authorized by voters in 2008, is expected to span approximately 460 miles once complete. California has dedicated billions of dollars to the project so far, yet no track has been laid. The California High-Speed Rail Authority recently disclosed that 38 structures and 39 miles of guideway have been completed after spending $13.6 billion. President Trump said that it is the worst managed project that he has ever seen, and that at this rate, it is hundreds of billions of dollars over budget. He called the overruns for the rail project the worst of any project in the history of the United States. President Trump explained by saying, "You could take every single person that was going to go on the train and get the finest limousine service in the world and take them back and forth with limousines, and you'd have hundreds of billions of dollars left over." The state is currently focused on building 171 miles of train line from Merced to Bakersfield in California's Central Valley. Mark Joffe, the California Policy Center visiting fellow, also is not optimistic about the future of high-speed rail. Joffe said about the Bakersfield-Merced line, "If things go according to plan, they'll have spent a total of $35 billion. The original estimate for the same length of track from Anaheim to San Francisco was $33 billion. Now, the overall project from the proposed Los Angeles area station to San Francisco is expected to cost up to $128 billion. This is $95 billion more than what was originally projected." Joffe blamed the overage on disorganization by the state at the start of the rail project. He also said officials had difficulty acquiring the necessary land. This was because the state changed the plan and ran the rail through the Central Valley. Joffe said that required them to work out deals with landowners or exercise eminent domain. That all takes a lot of time. A day after President Trump announced his criticism of the project, California Governor Gavin Newsom met him in the Oval Office. On Wednesday, Newsom traveled to Washington for a 2-day trip to discuss fire recovery funding with President Trump and with a bipartisan group of lawmakers. Later, Newsom's office said that the governor expressed his appreciation for the Trump administration's early collaboration, and he specifically thanked EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin for his agency's swift action. This included the deployment of 1,000 individuals to aid in debris removal. In the meeting, Newsom told President Trump that California needs help for families affected by the fire. Newsom also said that California has willingly helped other states in the past and is now asking for support. A statement from his office described the meeting as very productive. Newsom thanked President Trump for working together with the state to oversee recovery efforts. On the same day, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said during a press briefing, "The president is willing to work with anybody from blue states or red states to do what's best for the American people. He has continued to apply tremendous pressure to Gavin Newsom and also the Los Angeles mayor." And yesterday, Newsom issued an executive order to strengthen wildfire prevention efforts. He directed the State Board of Forestry to require an ember-resistant area within 5 feet of all residences that are located in high fire danger zones. The order also directed CAL FIRE to add 1.4 million acres to the 2 highest fire danger tiers of the state. State and local firefighting organizations are also instructed to increase collaboration with federal partners to improve disaster response efforts. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you. But please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.